How much time did you say they gave you? They gave you what? Yes, I know I need to shave. Mind your business. Bro, that's a crazy amount of time. An Ewok? I look like an Ewok. Where does it even come from? What the hell is it? Star Wars reference? That's what we're doing now? Come on, man. Yeah, I ain't got but 10, dog. To hear that you got that. Yes, I need to shave. I know that. I got it. I'm gonna take care of it. Let me do the video, then I'll focus on the beard today, all right? I told you I grow hair fast. That's my superpower. Back up off me, leave me alone. Let me do what I do. Yeah, I ain't doing but Harry and the Henderson. I should be ashamed of myself. Who cares if I shaved or not? It's my face. Everybody's looking at me. Damn, everybody is looking at me. My mustache looks like it smells bad. Yeah, I need to shave. Yeah, I can't even do this. I gotta shave. Then we'll get into how much time dude had, and how much time the other dude had, and time we spent as cellmates. And yeah, you got a good point, man. Good looking homeboy, man. This is not how I want to be remembered. I have worked way too much this week and have let myself go. Oh, hell no, hell no. You happy now? You good? All right, I'm gonna get back to doing what I do. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. Constructive criticism. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Busy man. Yeah, mind your business. Let's get into this. Man, you already know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, and we're back. Things don't really shock me anymore. I've told you. I've seen so much. I've heard so much. I've dealt with so much, witnessed. Not a lot shocks me no more. And being in prison, I met guys that, hey, how much time you doing? Got me a two-piece chicken nugget in here. How much you doing? Man, I got 6 of them things. What you doing? Man, I got 25. How much time you got? Double life plus 2 years. Double life plus 2 years? The hell was the 2 years for? Oh, I'd be pissed off about the 2 years. I don't even think the double life would bother me like that. It would bother me, but I think the 2 years would irritate me more than the double life. And then there are some guys that you hear about their crimes and you think, well, he's probably got 15 years. Yeah, he might at the most have 20 years. And then you come to find out that not only did he not hurt anybody, not only did he not kill anybody, but he's never going home. Now you've got that guy over there that killed 3 people. How much time you doing? 60 years. You got a guy over here that killed 1 person. How much time you doing? Double life. Then you got a man over here that didn't kill anybody. How much time you doing? 1,832 years. I know that sounds crazy, sounds hard to fathom, sounds unbelievable, but it is 100% true. Everything I've just told you is true. And that's what we're going to touch on today. This biased system, the biased judges. Is there a difference in the time that's handed out between white people and black people? When it comes to being a black man in America, do you stand a chance at getting more time than if you had committed that same crime being a white man? Should people that haven't hurt anybody do that much time? I get it. When you've killed somebody, you've taken a life, an eye for an eye, I get it. They're going to lay you down the rest of your life. But they don't always do that. It's a case upon case system. I know guys there's a guy here in Virginia that killed a cop, shot a state trooper point blank range. And after it was all said and done, he got 36 years. Okay. But the next man can kill somebody and get multiple life sentences, hundreds and hundreds of years. You can't say it's not biased. You can't say you don't see a difference in the sentencing, and the only thing that would play a factor in the difference would be the judge. would be the judge that you went and sat down in front of that had your life in his hands. So today we're going to get into excessive sentencing. Some guys I know, some guys I don't know that are making the headlines. It's crazy when you think about it. 1,832 years. Anyways, you know I done seen it. You know I done lived it. So, let's relive it. Try to keep up with me for a second. Try to follow me. Imagine walking into your house, 18 years old. You live with your stepfather. Your 6-year-old sister's there. And you walk in and you catch your stepfather doing things with your 6-year-old sister that he shouldn't be doing. You've caught him red-handed in the act. You don't know how long this has been taking place. You don't know how far this has gone in the past. You walk into the shock of watching your little sister, this little girl that looks to you as the big brother to protect her, being violated by the man your mom has brought home. The man that you call step pops. There's a gun. The gun is in reach. This is all taking place. You just stumbled upon it. What happens next? That's a true case taking place here. And y'all can pretty much guess what happened next. Before I say any more, let's watch the clip and then we'll get back into it.
From around the country met at the state capitol in Richmond today to support a Virginia family. They're calling on Governor Ralph Northam to pardon a man before he leaves office. John Hood joins us after speaking with that group now. John, hey there tonight.
Hey Riley, more than 18 years ago, 18-year-old Christopher Bennett was sentenced to 3 life sentences that totaled 1,800 years in prison. He killed his stepfather, Vincent McDormand, after he allegedly caught the man molesting his younger sister. Now the family is sharing Bennett's story and begging Governor Northam for his release. July 25, 2003, broke into his stepfather's home and killed him after he was allegedly molesting Bennett's 6-year-old sister. Given the option of 3 life sentences carrying 600 years each, or the death penalty. McDormand says at the time she felt she was too young to share her side of the story, but she is now making it her mission to get the man. The family's Change.org petition grow to more than 150,000 signatures. It also helped bring more support on Saturday from people around the country. The family has now been able to work with an attorney to help with the process of releasing Bennett's family, begging Northam to look at his case.
Look at his story, read his papers, and please send him home. That's where he needs to be. That's where he belongs.
Now, before we get into the reality of all that, we're going to touch on the actual facts. You only see the sex offenders on television when they're giving crazy sentences. They don't really cover the cases where a man is given a year, 2 years, 3 years. Nah, they'll talk about it once he's been caught for the 8th time and they give him a life sentence. Then it's worthy of making, the media, making the headlines. I used to hate prison just in general. One of the things I hated the most was the fact that we had to be around sex offenders, rapists, chomos, dudes that had done unspeakable things. For some of these men, they were never going home. But a common factor with these men was that most of them would go home before I would. Most of them had returned to prison for doing the same thing they were in prison for the first time and would still go home. I'd actually seen somebody come back in the 10 years I was there for molesting another child, and I would still watch that man go home before I did. I didn't kill anybody. I did hurt somebody 100%, but I didn't kill anybody. I didn't use any weapons on anybody. I didn't do anything like that. Yet here stands a man that has hurt somebody, that has stolen the innocence of another human being, not only a human being, but a child, and he is deemed to go back into society before I am. Now, with the Chris Bennett situation, this is a no-brainer. Now, I know we're all different. For most people watching, they probably say, I would have picked up the phone and I'd have done what was right and I'd have called the police. Well, there is a thing called crime of passion. Crime of passion is when you walk in on something and, to say the least, it just temporarily makes you go crazy. For a temporary, for a brief moment, you just lose your shit. I don't think that what he did that day was wrong. Yeah, I said it. I think, yeah, he could have picked up the phone and called the police. But then it would have been all drug out, and there's a chance of him beating the charge, or him getting 2 years, or him doing 5 years. And does that really ever help the situation? Him doing 5 years, is that going to correct the young girls? And it wasn't just one girl, it was 2 sisters he was doing this to. Does it correct the situation? No. When you're the big brother, or you're somebody that's looked up to protect others, and you run across something like that, you're expected to do a certain thing. When you love somebody, whether you're expected to do it or not, you just kind of do it. It's like coming outside and seeing somebody beating your little brother up or beating your little sister up, and you're the big brother or you're the big sister. Oh, they gonna catch these hands. You want to put you want to put hands on my family members? Oh, no. Ain't going down. Come here. Doot. Donkey Kong your head in. But this dude walked in on his stepfather doing unspeakable things to a 6-year-old little girl, picked up a gun, shot, killed him, grabbed his checkbook, and ran out the house. I get the checkbook part. A lot of people say, oh, well, this is what they're arguing. Well, this whole thing was just a robbery, and he tried to make it seem like the man was doing something, and that was his excuse. That was the lie he told. I'd have done the same thing. I just killed somebody. I know I'm going to prison. I know no matter what I say when they get here, they're going to lock me up. They got a smoking gun. They got me standing there holding it. He can't tell his side of the story. The prosecutor's going to paint a picture, because that's what prosecutors do. The prosecutors do not get up there. Even if they know you did the right thing, their job is to convince people that you're guilty. So knowing all that, yeah, I'd have grabbed any form of money and left. Because now I've got to go on the run. Now I've got to live on the land. Now I've got to, can't come home. I got to find places to live. I got to eat. I don't have any money. I just smoked his boots. There's a checkbook. I'm going to grab it and I'm going to dip. They gave this man 3 600-year sentences, 1,800 years total. When did homicide or murder, if that's what you want to call it, even begin to hold an 1,800-year sentence? 3 separate 600-year sentences. And he took that to avoid the death penalty. And truth be told, had he took the death penalty, this case wouldn't be on the news. There wouldn't be any chance of him ever coming home, because he'd already be dead. The system is flawed. I personally know men. I know men that have killed people in the commission of robberies, that have killed people during home invasions, that have killed people in the heat of the moment, that have killed people in fights, that are not doing 1,800 years. You look at the special circumstances in this case, the fact that there are children involved, the fact that the children are saying, yes, this happened. Yes, this man did this to us. Yes, that is what was taking place when he came through and caught him. And it doesn't matter. What type of judge could hand out 1,800 years to a man that pretty much intervened and saved his little sisters from a monster? What type of prosecutor could stand up there before the judge and in front of a jury and try to paint somebody out to be a monster, knowing that this man was doing this? And that's why this other young man took his life. People say the system is biased. I'll agree. But I don't think it's the system. I think it's the judges that they put in place. I think you have some judges that go above and beyond. I think you have some judges that are media hogs and they give the people what they want. I think you have judges that are racist. Facts. You have judges that are racist and they bring their views into the courtrooms. Because how can you prove or tell if this man that's up there judging everybody is racist or not? Unless you've got video footage of him saying something or recordings. You don't know. For all you know, He doesn't like black people or doesn't like white people. We have a judge here in Chesterfield County, Virginia, that had a daughter that was killed by a drunk driver, and his son, the judge's son as well, OD'd on heroin. Would you want to go in front of that judge with a drunk driving charge? Would you want to step foot in his court knowing that his son overdosed on heroin as a drug dealer or in possession of heroin? I know for a fact of a dude that he gave 7 years for driving under the influence. A guy that was drunk driving. I think he had like 5 previous driving on suspended license. And then on his 6th one, it was a driving on suspended DUI. Gave that man 7 years. 7 years in prison for driving an automobile intoxicated. Didn't hurt anybody. Didn't wreck. Is that fair? Do you think he gave him 7 years because that's what it called for? Or do you think the fact that his daughter was killed by a drunk driver played a part in it? The judges are human, but at the same time, they're biased. And if you don't think so, then, well, you haven't been in the system or been around long enough, talked to enough people, or went over enough cases to even know what you're talking about. This young man that got 1,800 years, he shouldn't be doing 1,800 years. Even if it was what they try to paint it out to be, or some type of robbery or something, he still shouldn't be doing 1,800 years. How the hell do you do 1,800 years? You can't do 1,800 years. And 3 separate 600-year sentences? And they call life 600 years? The hell have you ever known to live to be 600 years old? A vampire? And yet other people, like the young man I mentioned earlier that killed the state trooper out here in Mosby, that man got 36 years for shooting a cop. Point blank range. He got 36 years. Man left behind family, left behind kids, was out doing his job, wasn't molesting anybody, wasn't doing anything but doing his job, was shot point blank range, killed, and the young man that killed him got 36 years.
Travis Ball will serve 10 years in prison on a federal charge of illegally possessing the gun used to kill Special Agent Michael Walter 3 years ago. That sentence will run consecutively with 36 years he was given for capital murder.
Now, before anybody says, why are you hating on that man and his 36-year sentence? I'm not hating. Just trying to show you the proof that each judge is going to sentence how he feels. The jury sentences as they feel. They say there's a system in place, but when you compare 36 years for murder and 1,800 years for murder, both crimes led to the loss of a life. Where's the fairness? Then there's other things that take place in society. You could kill somebody, then tell on somebody, and they say, hey, we're gonna knock a bunch of years off because you told on somebody. So it's acceptable, and you'll work with me as long as I work with y'all. But if I don't, I'm going to get all this. It's crazy to say the least. What we're going to do next, we're going to get into John Edgar. John Edgar was a good friend of mine in prison. I'm going to tell you John Edgar's story. Let's get into it. Doing time in Virginia came with its ups and downs. As you know, different states have different politics. Out here, kick it who you want, kick it with whoever you want to kick it with. If you like kicking it with black dudes, kick it with black dudes. If you like kicking it with Spanish dudes, white dudes, you're a black dude that likes hanging out with white dudes, whatever the case may be, we're not big on the race separation. We're not. We got the memo. We read about segregation. We know that, you can kick it with whoever you want to. But one thing I do agree with when it comes to other states that we don't do out here is making people present their paperwork. Here, you only know why somebody's locked up if they tell you. Or if somebody else tells you, or they have a high-profile case. They could be lying right to your face, and you never know why this guy's locked up. You think that he's in here for one thing, and then later on, he was locked up for what? He did what to a what? Nah, man, this can't be. You never really know. And then a lot of times, guys, especially lifers, don't carry themselves as if they have life. Or when they talk to you, they say things that make you believe Otherwise, they don't have life. But John Edgar, a.k.a. Too Cool, anybody that's been on Greensville knows Too Cool. Too Cool, let me paint the picture, is a white guy. Too Cool is probably 6'3", 6'4", older man, curly ass hair. He wore these prescription glasses that anytime he stepped outside, they self-tinted. They got dark. When he came in, the lenses were clear. Dude walked with a cane, walked with a limp, had a limp like a pimp. Cool ass dude. Now the thing with prison is you can be around somebody for many, many years, see them year after year after year, and unless you have a reason to talk to them, a reason to associate with them, a reason to converse, y'all don't speak. Now I'd seen Too Cool for years. For the longest time, I lived in the pod directly next door to his in 100 pod. He lived next door in 200 pod. So whenever we would go outside on the yard, I would see this man walking with his headphones on, walking with that cane. We never spoke. Now I'm talking 5, 6 years, we never spoke. We had no reason to speak. I get snatched up. I told you the dude Dog got his boy moved in the cell. Dog became my new cellmate. Dog lied to me about liking the boys, which if you like boys, cool, whatever, that's your life. Live it however you wanna. But he lied about it. And ultimately, him and the boy had the power to have me moved out of a cell I had been in for the longest time. I get moved next door to 200 pod. I meet Too Cool. The reason I meet Too Cool is kicking it with a dude named Maurice Neenan, which is also, I've seen in the media, locked back up here in VA in Richmond. But that was my homeboy Maurice's homeboy. And believe it or not, Maurice is a white guy. You ever met a white guy named Maurice? Yeah, my homeboy Maurice Neenan was 100% a white guy. But in kicking it with Maurice, man, he would always be sitting at the table talking to Too Cool. Him and Too Cool shared a cell. I got to know Too Cool, a.k.a. John Edgar. He would say little things that would make me think he didn't have no life sentence. He'd ask me, what you gonna do when you get out? And initially, my plan was to open a tattoo shop. But once I got out and started tattooing and seeing how much came with it, and the fact that it was putting me in situations I didn't want to be in, tattooing never stops. You're a slave to the tattoo machine. I said, ask that idea. But he'd ask me, what do you want to do when you get out? I said, probably going to open up a tattoo shop, man. I'm going to start my apprentice, get all that straight, go through all the legal work, get all the licenses I need, open up a shop in Richmond. Man, maybe when I get out, I come through and sweep the floors up for you or something. Maybe I can do this, or I can do that, or I can draw some murals on the walls. We talk about his plans for doing things when he got out. So I asked him one day nonchalantly. He knew how much time I had. It had come up in conversation before. I got 10 years. When you get out, he said, you never really know. You know, I'm eligible for parole. I won't be in here much longer. Like, I'm going to make parole when I'm going to go home. Leads me to think, all right, he's old law. That means if he's got parole, he was locked up before 1995. Damn, before 1995? That put him at close to 20 years at that point, right? I said, all right, so this man, he's got the eligibility of parole. He talks like he might go home. Never in a million years did I think he had a life sentence. We meal up together, kick it. Instead of him walking the track by himself, I seen him walking. I walk up. What's up, man? What you doing? What you listening to? Just being, friendly, if you call it. We kicked it inside the building. Why not? We talk more of the time. When I finally get to my photo albums, I looked for them last night down in the attic somewhere. I've got a picture of John when he first came in prison. He's got this long, wavy hair. I'll share that with you when we do the photo albums. But he goes on to tell me certain details about himself, how he got the name Too Cool, the fact that he doesn't need the cane. He's like, I only got this cane because I've told him that, he said during my escape back in the 80s, I messed my leg up. He said there came to a point where I was on this bridge. I think it was the Chesapeake Bridge. He said, and I jumped. And for people that know that bridge, you'll be like, that's a lie. He said, I messed my knee up in that jumping off the bridge, but it was that or go to jail. He said, me and a female were walking across the bridge, and a cop pulled up on us. They were standing there talking to us, had no clue that he was an escaped inmate from a Maryland prison, had been out on the run now almost 3 years after escaping. He said, while the cop was standing there talking, he just jumped off the side of the bridge. Poof, hit the water. He said, my girl was gangster. She was a rider. He said, I thought, well, Shit, she's going to jail. You know what I mean? She's accomplice to what the crime was. We'll get into. He's like, I thought, shit, she's caught too. He said, next time I know, boom, she splashes in the water right beside me. Something like out of a movie. He said, we jumped off this bridge. We stayed in the current, went down a couple miles, and then we got out. He said, and I'd be caught in St. Louis not long after that. He said, but in that jump, I messed my knee up. Since then, my knee is healed. I tell them my knee's still messed up. That gives me a bottom bunk pass. It gives me certain medications for medical. There's benefits that come with it. So I just keep the cane. And after so many years of using it, I've kind of grown accustomed to it. Yeah, I walk like a pimp. I walk with a pimp limp. I keep the cane. It's kind of like a comfort crutch. So then we go into more of prior to him being locked up. And he tells me, he says, Jay, I had never even been with a white woman. Which I could, off his swag, yeah, I said it, swag, throwback word. Based off his swag, I could pretty much see that. He's like, I had never been with a white woman. He was like, in the 70s and 80s, it was a different world than what you live in. When was you born? So I was born in 1980. He's like, oh yeah, you're a young buck. He's like, when I was coming up, I don't know what it was. He was like, I was just attracted to black women. He was like, so the first woman I was ever with was a black woman. Second woman was a black woman. Third woman was a black woman. He said, well, the way the world worked was they frowned upon that. If you've seen a black man and a white woman or vice versa in public, people stared and they whispered. He said, so now that everybody knows that I've got a history for messing with black women, white women wouldn't touch me. He said, so even if I did like a white chick, people just frowned upon it. He said, so to this day, I've never even kissed a white woman. I don't care who you date. As long as they treat you good, make you happy. To me, that's all that matters. Don't worry about what the next person thinks. But that was just one of the things that he told me about himself, right? I would end up getting shipped off to another prison. He gave me that picture before I left. Said, hey, man, I'm going to miss you. We lost a good one. We lost you. Be safe at the next spot and don't come back here, man. I'll holler at you when I get out. Cool. I would get home. And I'd start thinking about guys that I left behind, guys that I considered to be friends. And I pulled up John Leroy Edgar's case. He's not coming home. He's never coming home. They gave John Leroy Edgar double life plus 2 years. He was serving time in Maryland for a series of robberies that he had committed, some of them in Florida and throughout. I don't know if this was federal prison, why he was in a Maryland prison for stuff that happened in Florida. But he was in a Maryland prison, and in 1986, he escaped. He would be on the run until he was captured for a murder he committed in 1988. In 1989, he was arrested in St. Louis, went through the whole process of being sent back to Virginia, and was given double life plus 2 years. The 2 years gets me every time. You just gave me double life and 2 years. Man, I'll slap this shit out you. What was the 2 years for? How could you even say 2 years? You just said double life and you just tacked on 2 years? So I've got to live my life till I die twice and then come back and do 2 years. That shit don't even make no sense. But I look more into it. John Leroy Edgar was ultimately convicted for killing a man on a construction site out around Phoebus area, which is a spot in Virginia. Robbed him of like $200, a watch, and some other things. And then I talked to a friend recently that's still incarcerated, that's really good friends with Too Cool, that was around at the same time. When he gets home, a guy by the name of Woody, that's his nickname. That's all I'll give you. He gets out within the next year or so. I'm definitely going to have Woody on so Woody can tell you more. But yeah, he killed somebody on a construction site, him and a woman he had married under a fake name while he had escaped. Was given 2 life sentences plus 2 years, and being around the man, you never would have guessed ever that he had hurt anybody. That was a very common thing with the lifers. I think, I'm not going to say all of them, a large majority of them never give up the hope that one day they're going to be released. I've seen men that have been down 50, 60 years that still believe that one day they're going to get out. I had an old guy one time show me pictures of when he was younger. Pictures of him, it looked like he was playing on a farm or something. He was just a kid. Then he showed pictures of him as a teenager, Then I seen his arrest photo. And the crazy thing is, as he's showing me all this, he's still talking about what he's going to do when he gets out. I know this man has life. I know he's a murderer. I know they're never, ever going to release him. And he doesn't carry himself like that. But as he's showing me the pictures of his mug shot and when he got arrested, I'm looking at the man that's showing me the pictures, and he's an old man who may live another 5-10 years at the most, who has been in prison, chain smoking, non-filtered, roll-up cigarettes for 60 years now. He's now in his 80s, and he's showing me pictures that are twice as old as I am. The picture alone is twice as old as I am. And he's an old man, still under the impression that one day he will be released. I understand why they give some people life. They said, eye for an eye. We've gone over that. I understand that if you kill somebody, especially somebody that hadn't done anything to you, what they do is they give you life. And I don't think it's always because it's the right thing to do. I think they do it to give the family of the victim closure. I think that in some cases, the judge woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I think in some cases, that's just what's called for. I think there's many different things that play into somebody getting a life sentence. I've met men that never, ever need to get out of prison. If they were released from prison, they would 100% kill again. So I get why you give somebody a life sentence. But it's kind of stupid when you start giving out double, triple, 600, 1,000 years, 1,200 years, 1,800 years. And they do that so that if by some miracle you were to get back in court and show that they messed up on one of your charges, well, you got 1,800 years. We'll overturn one of the life sentences. You still got 1,200. Oh, we messed up on that one too? Damn, got to take that 600 away. Shit. All right, cool. You beat two of your charges. You still got 600 years. You're never going home. John, Edgar, Leroy will never come home. And on the day that he does come home, not as a free man, because as I said, he'll never come home. He'll never walk out of prison. He will come out of prison the day that his heart has stopped beating. It is determined that he is room temperature and he is dead from whatever reason. That will be his release date. And from being around him, like I said with a lot of those lifers, you never would have imagined that you're sitting with a man that has not only been here almost as long as you've been alive, but will be here to the day that he dies. He will go to that chow hall and get his tray till the day that he dies. He will go through thousands of shakedowns, thousands of incidents of violence that don't necessarily lead to violence, situations that could be violent, arguments. Lord knows what's going to happen. But in the time he's got to do, hey, that's his life. We got one more story to get into before we get out of here. Let's go.
Lawrence Jacob Stevens was 18 years old when he robbed 2 men at gunpoint in York County. He did not kill or seriously injure the victims, but he knew he deserved serious punishment, just not life in prison. He says the weight of the sentence made him contemplate suicide over the last 2 decades he spent behind bars. But just days before Christmas, he learned he won't die there. Stevens and another young man at the time, Darnell Nolan, robbed 2 men inside a York County home back in 2001. They held the men at gunpoint and bound them with tape to keep them from running away. They ransacked the home for drugs and money at the direction of their fast food co-worker, Paul Michael Melendrez. Now, Melendrez is a white man. He received 10 years for orchestrating the crime, but a judge sentenced Nolan to 33 years in prison and Stevens to 3 life sentences for actually carrying it out.
I just want them to know that, wholeheartedly, I'm sorry. And I hope that, someday they'll be able, to forgive me in their hearts for what I did if they haven't already.
Now, we also got a hold of what Judge Prentice Smiley said when he sentenced the 18-year-old Stevens to die in prison. He said, quote, "You do not deserve to re-enter society at any time during your natural life." The judge went on to say, if you are ever released by the Department of Corrections in their wisdom, it would not be at the direction of this court.
By no means is it okay for you to break the law. I met dudes in Philly that had ran up in trap spots, trap houses, a trap house being a place that they sell drugs out of, a place that stores drugs, stores money. I met dudes that were doing crazy, crazy amounts of time for robbing other drug dealers. Doesn't matter if a man's a drug dealer. Bottom line is that at no point in time are you allowed to break the law because somebody else is breaking the law. That's kind of what it sounds like here. They said that they went in a house, tied 2 men up at gunpoint, and ransacked the house for drugs and money. Okay, cool. Being 18 years old, and we spoke on this, you don't do the same things you would do at 28, 38, 48. That's a fact. I am not who I once was. I'm not the same person I was at 18. I don't do the things I did when I was 18. But I don't think that at 18 years old, you doing something along those lines should call for 1,832 years in prison. And the judge to say that under my watch, you'll never get out of prison again in your lifetime. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Scared, yes. This is an 18-year-old first-time offender who got 1,832 years. His co-defendant gets 30-some years. And the white guy that orchestrated the whole thing got 10. So people heard this. They watched this trial take place, watched it unfold. All the people in the courts, prosecutors, lawyers, other judges. And nobody thought to stop and say, hey, this judge just gave a young man over 1,800 years that didn't kill anybody. That's excessive sentencing. Let's look into who else has been sentenced by this man and how much time he's given up. Let's compare the lengths of time when it comes to race. It's a no-brainer. One guy gets 10 years, and the 18-year-old that had no criminal record got 1,832 years. Now, before you say, I don't feel no pity for him, he shouldn't be committing crimes, he shouldn't be robbing people, he got what he deserves. Imagine that is your 18-year-old son. Imagine that's your 18-year-old brother or someone that you care about. And then tell me, he got what he deserved. 1,832 years, yeah, that's fair. People will argue with you that, hey, he's committing crimes, he knew what he was doing when he was doing it, because it doesn't relate to them, because it didn't affect them. But when something like that comes knocking on your door, when your nephew or your son or somebody that's typically a good guy gets caught up in the wrong stuff, and he gets sentenced to the amount of time that man did, that's when your whole story changes. A lot of y'all will comment and say, well, he knew what he was doing before he went out there and did it. True indeed. He was also 18 years old. Even in knowing what you're doing, nobody got killed. It doesn't mean you deserve to serve the rest of your life in prison. Man, it was in 20 years. And thankfully, somebody with some common sense came along and said, that's too much time. Too much time for robbing 2 people. He should never be in society again. Did anybody get shot? No, nobody got shot. Anybody get killed? Nobody was killed. But the other guy got sentenced to 25 years for murder. That guy got 35 years for murder. This guy killed a cop and got 30-some years for murder. But he robbed 2 people and got 1,832 years in prison. At what point do you say, yeah, the system's biased? Yeah, it's by judge by judge, situation. Each judge is going to be different. Guarantee you could have picked that man's case up, put it into another courtroom, and maybe he'd have got 25, 30 years. Could have picked it up, put it in another courtroom, maybe he'd have got 15 years. But with the roll of the dice, he ended up in this judge's courtroom and was sentenced to 1,832 years. How do you even stomach that? How do you even wake up to that? All you can do is pray. As they said, the man said he's plotted suicide over the last 2 decades. 20 years now, the man's just been sitting in there this can't be my life. I'm sorry, I didn't hurt anybody. Why did I do that? You want me to die here now? There's nobody in the ground. Nobody died. But you want me to spend the rest of my life here. I have to die in prison. But everybody else gets to go home. I'm going to leave y'all with this. Think about what you do before you do it. With every one of today's stories, there could have been a completely different outcome had with the one guy and his sisters, you walking up on something like that. Don't say what you would and wouldn't do, because you don't know what you would do unless you've been placed in that situation. For the victims in the world of sex abuse and things like that, I can guarantee you most of them don't wish the people that did them wrong much good. With John Edgar, doesn't matter who he is today, the fact that he took somebody else's life will leave him where he's at until the day he dies. And with the last guy, he's blessed that he's being pardoned, that he's being let out at 20 years, because there will not be many more like him. There just won't be. We're blessed to have the governor we have, who is granted these pardons, looked into some of these cases and let these men go. But he's about to leave office and it'll go back to the way it was. Think about what you do before you do it. Before you get in that car with your homeboys, before you pick that gun up, before you put that mask on, think about what you're doing. I don't care what's in that house, who lives in that house, what you stand to gain from going in that house. You always need to think about what you stand to lose. Not only could you get yourself killed, but in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of the court, you ain't got to die committing the crime. They'll make sure that you die in the Department of Corrections. Crazy. Real quick before we go, happy birthday, J.C. Wilmoth, to my homeboy Kevin's little girl. Happy birthday. Hope you have a great birthday. For everybody else watching, hope y'all are blessed, man. Hope y'all are doing better in 2022 than you were in 2021. And if 2021 was good for you, I hope that 2022 is even better. I hope y'all heed my advice. Y'all listen to these stories. Hope that you watch the whole video and that you take on the message of what I'm trying to put out here. These are all facts. Everything I said was facts today. Don't fall victim. Sometimes your worst enemy can be yourself. You don't know. You just don't know what lies ahead. Try to live each day to the best of your ability. Make it through the rough times. Because I can promise you, when you get out there and you start doing things, for whatever reason, mom needs help with the bills, y'all about to be evicted, you getting locked up and put in jail and thrown in prison behind doing what you think is right is not going to help your mother. It's going to put a bigger burden on her. Whatever y'all are going through, it will pass. In due time, you'll look back on it and say, he was right, it passed. But in the moment that you get out there and you start doing them things you shouldn't be doing and put the law into your own hands, you haven't helped the situation. You've made the situation worse. But anyways, these jails, detention centers, these prisons, these facilities, they're all just crazier worlds inside of an already crazy world we live in. And as always, y'all know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep y'all entertained. Are you not entertained? And like always, this is Jay Williams. Let's live life. And to all my real ones, and there are some real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. Now, y'all know how we do. Salute. 1,832 years. Man, that shit is crazy.